Hello everyone, and welcome to another episode of the I'll Try That podcast. This week I'm joined by Matthew Barber.
Hello everybody.
And Richard Treadwell.
How are we doing all?
So, this week, it's in our summer holidays, and where better to go than the sunny Spanish Iberian island of Majorca, I hear you say. So, we're heading over there to the cliffs and the beachy shores of Majorca to try Rosa Blanca, the Majorca 1927 Spanish beer / lager. But first, Barbara's going to bring us back closer to home for a hot topic.
Me again, and a brewery that I mentioned a couple of times on the podcast, and close to home, basically just in the news relatively recently at the back end of July, there was great success for Deya Brewery, whose signature pale ale, Steady Rolling Man, came out number one in the top 50 top UK beers. There you go. It's quite a good, quite an interesting little competition that was put together, because it's one that's trying to pit bigger breweries and smaller ones as well. So obviously they are not as known sort of nationwide as some others, but you know, Brewdog were in the mix there, Camden, several others that will sort of ring a lot of bells. But part of the idea of the competition is to mix big and small, basically. One quote that I'll share with you from So Gloss, really the only stop for Gloucestershire-based news, if I'm being honest, were some comments from Greg Wells, who's the co-founder of We Are Beer. Bear with me on this. We wanted to create an award that celebrated all beer styles and in which brewers big and small could compete on an equal stage. He goes on to say, as a result, truly great beers from lesser-known British craft breweries such as the Deya Brewing Company, as well as great British classics such as Timothy Taylor's Landlord, have emerged triumphant and proves the skill and craftsmanship that lives on in the UK brewing scene. So, that's clearly people who know their stuff about beer. So, never mind, Rich, if it's not quite to your tasting. But for those who've not had it before, Steady Rolling Man is almost like the signature Deya brew, I think named after the Eric Clapton song. And, there was a panel of over 150 beer experts who voted to bring it out as number one. And I think the main comments that came out about what a good beer it was were sort of also describing it as incredibly soft and delicate. It's a pale ale, but actually they're quite good on their fairly heavy rotation of different beers you can go and get at the tap room. They did a cracking craft lager not too long ago that was excellent, but they pretty much they've spun the whole gamut with the beers they can make. So I'm sort of just hammering home a message that you had before, that Deya are worth a look, and you can have a try. And actually, Joe, incidentally, didn't you recently uncover Deya on tap somewhere down your ends?
Yes, I was in old London town for work, and stumbled across a pub that happened to be selling Deya, which I was like, that's very cool, given a Gloucester-based brewery. Obviously it's not too far from home, but actually it's quite a big deal to make it there. And it was a pub that actually they aren't known for their kind of adventurous beers. So the fact that Deya was there as well is obviously a good sign that they are like going for like staples. They have made it to the point where they're a safe bet for some of these pubs that maybe wouldn't take the risk I'm jumping on a new trendy beer brewery. So it's a good sign, I think. And it was delicious.
I'm just a bit upset that the bloke who has created this thing has put Deya, because Deya is fantastic. I loved all the beers we've tried for them, but they have put them in line with Timothy Taylor, which is the equivalent to a dripping urinal.
Just no. And offside. I'm not have. Sorry, were you going on to something there?
No. It's just Timothy Taylor's bad. Deya's really nice. It's
outrageous. Deya, incidentally, that's funny. As we are talking about Majorca, Deya is actually a little village in Majorca. It's like an old artist colony.
Up in the mountains and the hills, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly. And actually, for that reason, there's some comments in the article here from Tom Hobson, the artist behind the eye-catching Deya branding. There's sort of crocodiles on their sort of signage and that sort of thing. But he says, "Steady to me feels like that magic moment where a song will change from minor to a major chord or vice versa, bringing a shift in tone and feeling that can be ever so slight and silky in its transition, but is enough to make the fingertips fizz."
Oh, wow.
So I quite like that. That's an interesting take on your beer descriptions, isn't it? Instead of me just
I like that.
me just saying the word pokey over and over again. So
Although Fingertips Fizz sounds like a grunge band from the 90s.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Also, is that just a new level of beer tasting where people are just putting their fingers into the beer as well?
Have you seen that viral video of it's like that sort of Americans, I think it is, or some people anyway, in, I don't know what country they are, looks like it's Italy, but it could be enter Mediterranean country here, sitting down for a lovely meal, and someone comes around with these big 2 vats of wine over his shoulder, and they're like these big tube things. He's basically holding his fingers over the end of it, and he kind of, red or white, and they say, oh, red wine. So he opens up his finger and like outpours the wine.
Oh.
And then the next thing is people taking the mickey out of it, basically just pouring wine over their fingers into people's glasses to be like, and then swirling their fingers around in the wine and be like, yummy.
I hadn't seen that, but
No, I like that.
I like the imagery.
Yeah. Not a visceral experience of that, but yes. So yes, Deya good. Well done, Deya. Good to see them going from strength to strength. Want to see them more of that. Shall we talk about Majorca then? Should we talk about Rosa Blanca?
Very well.
Can I just step in quickly before we start talking about the beer? I've been to Majorca once and I got robbed and was severely ill. So my overall view of Majorca hasn't been fantastic.
Not your go-to holiday destination, in that case.
Not my go-to holiday destination.
You are always the person that gets attacked and you get into predicaments in the safest places. Don't get me wrong, I'm sure Majorca has a bad side to it, but it is well known as being a very family-friendly, nice place to go in the world. How on earth did you get yourself into a situation?
Rich is going to elaborate on the story, and it turned out to be a nun or something as well.
No, so I wasn't robbed. So it was the villa that I was staying in was robbed, and they took all of my money, my phone, my iPod at the time, and probably my fault because I left the window open. But
That'll do it.
Yeah, and then I got really bad food poisoning. So all in all, I didn't have a great time in Majorca.
Doesn't sound like it, no.
I was going to case up how long ago this was as well, because you said iPod, but you're going to turn around and say it was about 6 weeks ago, actually.
Yeah. I think I was 18, 19 at the time, but yeah, it wasn't a great holiday. But I'm sure the beer's nice.
Yeah.
So yeah.
And if the listeners learn one thing from this episode, it's to lock your windows and doors when staying in Mediterranean villas.
Yeah.
That we can all agree on.
So, who's come across Rosa Blanca before?
What a segue. I've seen it on a shelf a few times and thought, oh, I don't recognise that. I will have a go. And I haven't got around to it, and I am now doing it. I was bursting with this before we actually got on, but I was going to say what even sweetened the deal is I was in one of the more upmarket British supermarkets when I purchased this, and I bought another crafty option at the same time. And a 4-pack for £4 is really not to be sniffed at these days, is it?
No,
it's a lower percentage. It's 3.4, and you just do expect a slightly lower price for a lower ABV. But that made my purchasing decision all the easier.
It looks good as well, but we'll come back onto looks. Can you give me a guess why it's the strength that it is, the 3.4% ABV.
I don't. Is there a special? Is it like in the category of special magic reasons, or is it sort of a business of brewing reason that we may have talked about recently as well?
It's a more businessy decision. Let's put it that way.
Lower taxes?
Yeah, I think you're spot. Well, basically, yes. Duty is the official term.
Yeah.
Yes, it's because it's being imported into the UK from Spain by the Damm brewery, which we've talked about before.
Which Damm brewery?
Which Damm brewery? But we're talking Catalonia, Barcelona based brewery.
Oh, very good beers from the Damm brewery.
Estrella is obviously the.
Estrellas.
Sorry, yeah, to be too on the nose about it.
So we know they make some good beers. Anyway, in the homelands of Catalonia and Spain and Majorca, obviously where you can buy these beers, they're actually 4.8% ABV. But they have made a 3.4% version specifically for the UK market so that it hits underneath that 3.5% benchmark of duty tax here in the UK that we love to put on beers and alcohol. So there you go. That's why we're consuming. But it also nicely links into that trend that we're seeing of lower ABV beers becoming more popular and people wanting lower alcoholic / non-alcoholic offerings. But yeah, I mean, but even 3.4% isn't too, low actually in the grand scheme of things, is it?
Actually, with certain things in the news recently, I think a part of me wants certain Brits to have lower ABV beers as well, to be quite honest.
Yeah. But going back to the look of the thing, what's our first takes on Rosa Blanca, how it looks?
It's a beautiful blue. I'm not gonna lie, I love the blue on it. It's very peaceful. I look at it and it relaxes me to look at it.
Very easy on the eye. It to me doesn't really look like a can of beer, if I'm being quite honest at first glance, because it has that central motif. My word of the week. It's like almost like a gold crested hop, isn't it? But you'd need to look at it once or twice to realise that that's what it is. And actually, I think this is the 440ml can. That's what betrays its real identity as being a beer. But actually, from a certain distance, I think it looks like some of those small, like mojito in a can type things, although they're normally green.
I was going down the hard seltzer kind of design, your White Claw and all of that sort of stuff. It appears that you would start to drink it and you would appear it to be a lighter beer, a refreshing beer is what I'm getting from the can design.
Do you know what I love about it? It's a brewery that they're spouting has been around since 1927, which is no easy feat to be around for that long.
No.
And yet it feels and looks very modern. So I love the take on this. Like that colour of blue, as you guys are going on about, feels very fresh. It feels very modern. And they've got this obviously Rosa Blanca, already in your mind, that's some sort of rose flower, white rose, I'd imagine. And yet they've done it in this amazing gold illustration and line work for the flower.
Well subtly corrected. I thought it was a hop. Yeah, I can see how it could be a rose, actually.
Yeah.
Given it's okay.
Rosa Blanca, white rose.
Yeah,
I'm starting.
You've got the hops down below.
I'm starting to. No, those aren't. Those are. That's barley, isn't it?
Wheat, barley. Yeah. You've got the more traditional beer cues then, I guess, with the barley then. From those kind of ingredients.
I'm starting to think Rosa Blanca means white rose instead of hop. Do you think that might be what it is?
I think that's exactly what it's called, yeah.
Not sure, but maybe.
I don't know the origin of the white rose, Rosa Blanca name, though.
Well, we don't.
In the sands of time.
We don't know for sure that's what it is. We'll have to look into it more. It's been a long day. I'm sorry. Excuse me.
But it goes on this other trend of, like, we've seen this growing trend of breweries bringing out Mediterranean-styled lagers, premium lagers in the UK market. I mean, how many are we on now? We've talked about this at great length.
800 billion.
A billion also. And I think actually in an upcoming episode, we've got another new premium lager from a big player to talk about as well. So yes, there is clearly a lager is back trend, as we've been following intently at this podcast. Lager's back. And everyone's getting on this premium lager and using Mediterranean style, whether it's Spanish, Italian, not so much. I haven't seen any French premium lagers outside of the ones that we're already familiar with being touted as being the next thing. So yeah.
To me,
I think
go on.
I'm really enjoying lager coming back, sort of thing. I think it had a really bad reputation for so long, and now we're trying more and more of these imported fancy smancy lagers that are coming in. And I've got time for it. If we're going to get a proper craft lager scene, let's go for it. But let's just hit it hard.
To me,
instead of all these.
To me, it smacks like the cynic in me is coming out, but it smacks a little bit of, in The Office when David Brent's doing his dating profile and it's put that I'm interested in travel, and he's like, you don't do any travelling, and it's like, put that I'm into foreign food and drink and that sort of thing. It's like, what? Because you've had a Rosa Blanca. It doesn't quite count. It's funny. I'm sure there's like. I'm looking at it a little bit cynically because it does sound like there's been, we had that case with Madry, didn't we, where it is just like, we're going to try and convince people it is. But I almost think that it's, I don't know, in many ways I'm glad it's like this, but there are actually some other really good continental lagers out there which haven't come to the fore as much, just by virtue of presumably some sort of distribution deal that someone scored. So actually, do you remember we did Menabrea, the Italian one? I mean, theirs was, I remember thinking about Menabrea as it was like, it really is premium. Like they almost don't want that many people to have Menabrea because it's like, it really, really premium. But, there are some out there that have existed for a long time, which, it almost seems like a weird twist of fate that it just happens to be, in this case, Rosa Blanca. That's the continental beer du jour, if you see what I mean.
You always think someone's just got all the lagers that are out there and just thrown a dart.
Yeah.
This one this week. It was Madry last month. Let's go Rosa Blanca this time.
Yeah. I thought I had another really good example, but it's gone. So yeah, you have to wait for that. Do you like what it tastes like?
I enjoy it. It's got a bit more of a taste and a flavour to it than I was expecting, if I'm honest. I mean, obviously the can design looks brilliant, and you're expecting a brewery that is, owned by, a brewery like Damm who can make great beer, and with the fact they're trading on a clearly a brewery or a name that's been around for a long time, that it's going to be a good tasting beer. And it delivers on that for sure. It's quite full bodied. It's not like an overtly light beer, when it comes to a lager, but it's got a nice kind of rounded profile to it, which I'm enjoying.
I don't know if there's something wrong with me at the moment. I'm actually now thinking I'm going to check the date, but I'm not mad about it. And for me, it sort of lingers a bit. Like I'm almost like a bit tacky in the mouth. That sounds horrible, but I don't know. I don't find myself I'm going straight for another of these straight away. And actually, I think I was almost. You're quite right. I was thinking it might be that I was expecting something a little more dialed down, flavour profile wise, and it has got a bit going on. But yeah, I don't know. I'm just not. It doesn't make my heart sing.
It's no Menabrea. It's no Menabrea.
Apples and pears are really those two, aren't they?
Yeah, it's been brilliant. But no, I've enjoyed it. I definitely wouldn't, for the price point as well. I'd definitely pick it up.
That for me is it's key.
And it looks nice. Like if you're sat around holding this in a social situation, people are going to go, "Oh, that's an interesting looking can." So they'll make a comment about it, I'm sure.
Yeah,
it looks nice.
I was going to say, just to quickly go back to the price point, is when you're looking that you can get 4 cans of Foster's. It was in my local Londes are currently £7.50.
What?
4 cans of Foster's or actual just lager Foster's, not the shanty?
So yeah, for £7.50 for 4 cans of Foster's. I'm assuming there was probably some price gouge because we are right by the sea, right by the beach. So I'm assuming there's probably a bit of a price cap on it for that. But when you're paying £4 for Rosa Blanca, which is a nicer, tastier something going out there, or you can have some Fosters for £7. It's
no brainer.
Yeah, no brainer when it comes to it, really. Like
it's no bueno.
Yeah. It's even less brain than no brain. It's like minus brainer.
Yeah, that's it. If I'm going, the only reason I'd buy Foster's would be for this podcast, or if I wanted to throw it away.
No, Rich, there are some things we don't joke about, and the throwing away of beer is one of them, I think.
That's crossing a line right there.
I suppose I could wash my hair in it.
Wouldn't be able to, not allowed. It's the hallowed water, that one.
I've not seen Rich for a while. I bet secretly he's actually got a stash of Timothy Taylor's that he enjoys.
I think he
side.
sits around in that Timothy Taylor's t-shirt I got him for his birthday, and he drinks Timothy Taylor's from bottles, and he just goes, I reckon most of the untapped reviews of Timothy Taylor's is actually Rich. 5 stars, loving it.
I hate how much I love you.
Yeah.
He's got like to level 90 of his like posting on Timothy Taylor's stickers.
Yeah. That Matt Barber's so right.
It's about time somebody said it.
Let me throw some numbers at you.
Splendid.
So Rosa Blanca 1927 on Instagram have 9,400 followers.
Oh, I thought for a minute they were going to have 1927 followers. That would have just been terrific.
That would be poetry in motion right there. I can't find them on Twitter or X, but on Untapped they have got a 3.41 rating out of 5. So, and that's 17,205 ratings. I'm not sure why I've never given the Untapped numbers before. This is the first time I've actually dropped these. It's very helpful.
Yeah.
That's we should probably get rid of Twitter and X.
Yeah, I think we're going to replace Twitter and X because it's no longer relevant. We'll do it Untapped instead. For our beer podcast, that's probably not a bad shout.
My one criticism, and I think I've had this grumpy old man rant before, I imagine that 3.41 is an average, isn't it? I was like, if you've got
the 17,205 ratings.
Yeah, okay.
Which is a pretty good.
No.
Right.
So I fall out.
Like 2 people and one likes it and one doesn't. It's got in the middle.
Sorry, but it's because it's the average. And that is fair enough. I just get annoyed with. Basically, someone asked me to rank something out of 10 recently, and they go. And I went, it's an 8 or a 9. And they went, 8.5? And I go, no, you can't. If you're saying it's out of 10, you're not allowed 8.5. Because if you have 0.5...
You can have 0.5.
I think it's 0.5.
No, because it's what's the point then? You might as well say, what's it out of 100? And you can say, I give it an 85 out of 100. You need to commit.
What?
If someone says, rate this out of 10, you say 8.5, I think you can kiss my aunt, to be quite honest.
No, because that's still within the spectrum. And it's still higher than an 8.
I know that 8.5 exists between 1 and 10.
If anyone adds more decimal points, or they add decimal numbers, or they add like anything but the 0.5, if they say like 8.75, then I'm like, no, get out of here. But an 8.5, it's perfectly legit.
Take a step back and you'll realise that's a really weird place to draw the line when you think about it. The other one is if someone rates something out of 10 and they've got let's say they've got 5 things they're rating out of 10 and they go, well, that's a 7, that's an 8, that's a 7 and that's a 6 or whatever. If they would never entertain giving anything between a 1 and a 5, then they haven't rated it out of 10 either, have they?
I just think if anyone
it's my weird hill I'll die on.
I want it out of 10 and someone to say, I'll give it about an 8.5 out of 10. That perfectly would wouldn't be a red flag to me. I wouldn't go and scream in their face like it sounds like you did do in your situation. If someone would just say, oh, give this a rating out of 10, someone went, oh, it's 8.6494741999, then I'm like, what? What's going on?
No. If someone says 8.5, no, I will say, no, I didn't ask you to rate it out of 20 or out of 100.
Such an angry man.
You just grow a bloody backbone and pick a single digit number between 1 and 10.
Says the person who says it's going to be an 8 or 9 out of 10. Grow a backbone, give it a number from the start.
My point is that I eventually went for 8. I didn't cop out and call it an 8.5. I just thought about it a little bit harder and gave the decision the respect it deserved.
Well, I think respect being the operative word, I think you've lost the respect of a lot of listeners with your lack of, acceptance of the 0.5s.
Yeah.
Au contraire, Joe, I think they'll agree that was a 9 out of 10 analysis, actually, and not an 8.5. The defence rests.
So what out of 10 would you give this Rosa Blanca then? Because I'm definitely in an 8.5 kind of category.
Yeah, you're just being childish now. It's a 4. It's a 4. Sorry,
Yeah,
Rosa Blanca.
It's probably closer to a 4. I'd say it's a 4.5.
Yeah, you would.
Well, anyway, it's nice to hear and talk about a new beer that's like all the other new beers that are in the premium lager Mediterranean space.
God, it winds me up so much.
That's right. Yeah, we'll just review another premium lager next after this as well.
Yeah. Yeah. And we'll just cross our fingers that breweries stop doing these and kind of give us something new that isn't a premium Mediterranean lager. Yay!
Bring back lager.
Oh, it's coming back, I heard.
And that's all we have time for this week's episode of the I'll Try That podcast. And so from me, Joe, Rich,
Barber,
and Simo.
Goodbye. Don't forget to follow us on Instagram,
Twitter, I'll try that podcast.com.
And watch us on YouTube.
Goodbye now.